Okay. Okay, so we're moving on a little bit. So 2004, personally, I think I said this earlier, it's a very painful thing to be involved with because, beautiful area of science and you get into it and it's great and everyone's excited and then it turns out to be a mess. And, we published that paper in 2001 saying, no, we should have Gronk on the front of our paper. No. It's no three quarters. Don't eat Tide Pods as well. Anyway, so look at this. This is really fun. So there's actually a whole issue of this journal, Functional Ecology, was about this thing. They're like, what's good? This is a mess, right? We need to talk about this. So they had this paper, is WBE's model of allometric CI mathematically correct and biologically relevant? See, that was a mistake, right? Because they get to reply, yes. So full points for them. But titling is a very important titling game. You got to have a strong titling game, and you don't want to leave things hanging around here. You just got to say no, it's wrong. Like it is wrong. That would have been good, right?
Or just calling no.
Right. No, you got to say it. Just don't. It's not a mystery. You don't want it to be a mystery thing. Like people sometimes when they start writing papers as scientists, right? They're like, we studied something. It's like, and the big reveal is going to be at the end. You can't do that. It's not an Agatha Christie novel. It's just like you've got to tell it straight away. Title, abstract, boom. What you did, yeah. Make it easy. Anyway, so that was just unforced error. Anyway, and then they come back. They're trying. This is I guess it's a year later. Is it in the same one? Yeah, it's a very contiguous paper. Yeah, right, exactly. So now, like they're going back and forth. It's like the Simon and, right? It's before Twitter too, right? So, what was that?
Now we just hash out on Twitter.
Yeah, some hate. God, I saw some more academic tweet rage I was going to show. Anyway, but someone called someone a hater. You're just a hater. It's like, okay, you're just a hater. They spelled "you're" incorrectly as well, so that was bad. What's up? I guess I'll bring that one up at another time. But it was to do with Taleb. It was to do with the Black Swan thing. This is a very dangerous territory, and I feel like I shouldn't even... Because Nassim Taleb has a huge following. If you go and look at his thing, people really love him. A lot of the discussion is about deadlifts, which is interesting. It's a little bit male. But if you don't deadlift, you're not worth your existence. You're a waste of space, I guess. There's a lot of discussion about that. It's a lot of righteousness, and So. Yeah, but I was basically saying that Black Swan is not a good encapsulation of the thing it's trying to describe. It's fine now because everyone just says Black Swan, right? And they sort of know what they mean. But Black Swans, and I know this is a deviation, but Black Swans are, it's true that, so I come from Australia, right? And Black Swans in Western Australia, they're not that surprising, of course, because you're from there. But if you're a European and you're sailing around the world and with questionable legal intentions, and you come to this place and find kangaroos and then platypuses and all these other things, it's not the piece you would come back and say, hey, we found some swans that were different colors. Like, it would be not the first thing on the list of weird things you found in Australia. Anyway. Okay, so here's more work. This is 2010. This is published in Nature, which I don't quite understand. It's a fine paper. I just don't really know why it was in Nature, really. But then, so they say, well, let's just make it quadratic. And I apologize, that should be, I'm just adding some more stuff here because it's madness. This should be squared, of course. This should be brackets around this thing, right? And they say it's a better fit if you use a quadratic. So that's that blue quadratic. They didn't include the elephant or the orca. Apparently someone got in with an oxygen thing and measured how much an orca was I don't know where that came from. That's amazing. I mean, it does seem stupendous to measure the metabolic usage of a whale with teeth. Right. Okay. So anyway, so they got a better fit with this, right? So this is, but and then it deviates at this end, and then they kind of like argue about whether the thing is 2/3 and 3/4. They do this sort of thing. So I showed you this regression where you start from the bottom because things got bigger, and they show that the fit is like there's 2/3, and then it sort of falls apart. So it's sort of a similar story. And then they have a thing. I guess that's what this is. If you regress from the bottom. And this one is where if you regress from the top down, which is, right, you start with the biggest one and then open a window going downwards, then you get a different thing. And I guess they're trying to say that it's messy, which is true. But that's sort of, I mean, my argument against this is a while ago, right? I remember having this discussion with, like, why would you measure from the bottom? I mean, we absolutely have a zero, right? And then we start and we grow, and evolution produces bigger and bigger things. There is dwarfism, right? Things get smaller now and then, but that makes sense, and evolution is producing things that have bigger and bigger structures, and they're fighting against gravity in interesting ways. So you can imagine the deviations could happen at that end. Anyway. Right, fine. But that's 2010. That's got 300 citations. It's done well. This one is asymmetric networks, right? Okay. And then there's still, so this is really weird actually, because you have, people just keep going back and forth. That's 2017, and they say, oh, we show the 3/4 thing is okay, actually. Whereas, if we go back to this one, they're like, where's their citation? Yeah, they're right. Sorry, I put the citation, the quote at the top. This raises the question of whether the theory can be adapted to agree with the data. And these are people from the team, right? The quarterology. These are people who have left the cult, but their cult pulls them back in because of funding, maybe. Anyway, so this is really just nuts. So Wes now has a book. This is really wrong with me. Of course, there are beautiful reviews, full of intriguing big ideas, but amazingly sloppy. I'm just taking Amazon comments, which, book is terrible, bidding is terrible. It's true. I mean, this is really amazing, right? And I think this is probably taken from the Betancourt paper. You have, you actually plots with different scales, and it's not clear if they're log, and log E, or log 10, or whatever. High quality Amazon reviews, really good. What's that? So they're not really, right, because they study corporations and cities and organisms and talk about the differences between them. So he likes to point out that cities never die.
But they do.
How do you feel about that? Right, so the claim that cities never, that's what they say. Corporations, are very new things too, actually, right? We didn't really allow corporations to persist, until the 1800s, they'd always be dissolved. Because you had a king, and it's kind of obvious it would go wrong. Corporations are weird because, of course, they merge and they change names and so on. So they're pretty stable. I mean, of the biggest cities in the world, a lot of them have persisted, but certainly they've gone through different. They haven't all just been going like this. And at the edge of things, ghost towns, right? I mean, famously, right? Things evaporate on the edge of it. So that's not a city, but in terms of human settlements, things.
I mean, is he talking about modern cities?
It's just big city, like any big.
Any big city for all of time?
Yeah.
But it made more sense historically because there were geographical concerns for where you build a city. When you look at things like Istanbul,
Yeah.
there are places that
So trade.
are geographically advantageous.
Yeah.
So it keeps happening.
So there's trade. There's of course, if something really enormous happens in terms of water, right? The place dries up, then whatever, for whatever reason, then people will simply have to leave. Southern California is fighting that eventuality. What's that?
And we have Las Vegas.
just amazing. It really is incredible. Yeah, the shots from above, right, like Palm Springs and so on, it's just green lawns and then desert, you know. It's amazing. Yeah, where I grew up, there were no rivers, right? There was no water supply, right? So water was very, very scarce, and you could bore for water. It was pretty deep, 400 feet, and that was good for sheep and so on, and the garden. But the water we drank, I mean, it's from the roof, right? From just rainwater, which is illegal in some states in the U.S. to drink your own rainwater. I think it's not for health; it's because someone else owns it. Is that right? It's so amazing to me. What an achievement of something.
But it does have a different acidity.
Yeah, it's awesome. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. That was water in a particular part of the world. Yeah, you wouldn't want to drink some water, right? Obviously, yeah. And then a possum dies in the tank, and you're in a lot of trouble. Real feature of rainwater, I'm afraid. It's not good. Yeah. So, and we got 18 inches a year. It's not much. So you have to move water sometimes. So I'm just like, my mind is blown by the Southwest. I'm just like, oh my God, this is just a precipice of disaster. Well, sort of the Anasazi Indian people right in New Mexico seem to have had this, right? The Pueblo were very interesting, beautiful, fantastic, right? And then just vanished, yeah? Like Mesa Verde. And it seems to be drought, I think. Yeah.
Those dwellings must have relied on some water
Yeah.
source.
Yeah, because you're not going to, right? There were no, right? But it was a mystery for a while, at least for us looking back, if it was war or something, right? Whatever happened, or migration, and then eventually it does seem to be from records that we've been able to kind of figure out that there really was this 30-year drought. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, California started to get into trouble, right? 3 or 4 years of a drought, and it really actually was interesting to change people's behavior, right? So, yeah. Well, that's an interesting flip. People actually started to if you see someone watering their lawn, there was hate, Yeah. Okay, I know.